Hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Dr. Iyabo. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you're here. If we haven't met, I'm a board-certified pediatrician, a business and lifestyle coach for women, a motivational speaker, and author. My book, Permanent Happiness, is on Amazon, and I'm also a blogger and a wife and a mother. So welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here today. This topic, again, is a request from somebody who posted a comment right here on YouTube, who's just had a new baby, and she wanted me to talk about feeding in babies and in newborns. And of course, that means I'm wearing my pediatrician hat today. Like you guys know, I wear many hats. I'm the money to honey coach. So topics related to entrepreneurship, financial freedom, financial independence, attracting your honey, dating well, dating wisely. And once in a while, I do put on my pediatrician hat to talk about topics like this. I did discuss pediatric milestones the other day. So here we go. Feeding of a newborn. You know, you're a new mom, you've just had a baby, or you're an expectant mom and you're pregnant and you're having a baby soon. How do you know what is best to feed your baby? Because of course we talk about nutrition a lot in us adults and grown-ups, right? It's the same thing in babies and in toddlers. What they start to consume from an early age really is what helps them fight diseases, build immunity, fight inflammation, and all of that, and especially for brain growth as well. Because as you guys know, a baby's brain grows the fastest and the most in the first 3 years of life. So what we're feeding to them at that age is very crucial. So we all know that in the newborn period, the best kind of nutrition is breast milk, right? This is human milk. This is what God has given us. Mother's milk is the best to feed babies with. However, sometimes this is not possible due to one reason or the other. But breast milk is the best, especially in developing countries. Breast milk is the best kind of nutrition for babies because sometimes it's hard to get clean water to be able to make formula, or because of poverty, it's difficult, right, to be able to purchase baby milk, formula milk, which is not cheap in other parts of the world. So breast milk, human milk, has a lot of advantages. And of course, the best way to feed it is directly from the breast into the baby's mouth, right? With the baby suckling. Again, because of some medical issue or some reason or the other, sometimes some moms will have to express the milk and feed it in a bottle, and that's acceptable. Or if you're leaving the baby in somebody's care, right, you may have to express it and refrigerate it or freeze it so that you can then, warm it up later on and somebody else can feed your baby on your behalf. So again, breast milk is the best. In some conditions where some moms just cannot produce enough breast milk. I wasn't one of the lucky ones with both of my pregnancies. I didn't have that much breast milk production, so I had to resort to formula. So in some situations where breast milk just is not the best option, your production is very low, or you just can't breastfeed because of some reason or the other, then the next best is formula. And again, there's so many brands on the market depending on what part of the world you live in. The only thing I'll say be careful of is in some parts of the world they still sell formulas with low iron. You do not want to feed your baby a low iron formula. And it's a myth. It's not true that formulas with adequate amount of iron constipates babies. That is not true. But you definitely don't want to. Those formulas have been banned in developed countries. In the States, you will not find formulas with low concentration of iron. But I know in some parts of the world, they still exist. So if you go and buy a formula, read the instructions. If it says low iron formula, do not buy it. Ask them in the store if they have formula with regular and adequate amounts of iron, because iron is really important for a baby's brain growth from birth to 3 years old. So if you're giving your baby nutrition with low iron, it can lead to mental retardation. So be careful. Again, In the first few months of life, babies do not need iron supplementation as long as they're being breastfed. Breast milk has enough iron for babies, and formula milk, as long as it's regular formula milk that has iron supplementation, then the baby has enough iron. However, the vitamin that the babies do need supplementation with in the first few months of life is vitamin D. And this is especially with breastfed babies, and also especially with babies with brown and black skin with melanin, because the more melanin you have in your skin, the less vitamin D you're able to absorb from the sun. And where do babies stay? Babies are usually indoors. We don't put our babies outdoors to sunbathe because they will get sunburns. You don't want your baby to get sunburned. So even when we're walking outside with them, we have like a shield above them, right? In the stroller, they have an umbrella or something that is protecting them from the sun. So babies don't get enough vitamin D because breast milk doesn't have enough vitamin D, and then because babies are indoors a lot. If your baby is, however, taking formula, there's a lot more vitamin D supplementation in formula. So you don't need to worry about vitamin D supplementation if your baby is taking 100% formula or mostly formula. But if your baby is mostly breastfed, that baby needs to be on vitamin D supplementation. And please talk to your pediatrician to give you that vitamin D supplementation. It's just drops that you put in the baby's mouth every day. Now, this video, of course, like I've said on my other videos, it doesn't replace going to your pediatrician. This is just for informational and educational YouTube purposes only, right? Make sure that all your kids have regular doctors. They have pediatricians, regardless of what part of the world you're in. My videos should not replace medical care for your kids. This is purely for informational purposes alone. So that's a newborn. So breast milk or formula is adequate nutrition from birth till 4 months old. The American Academy of Pediatrics does recommend baby food, which we call weaning. So if you hear weaning, that means you're introducing baby food. So they recommend that from age 4 to 6 months. Depending on your preference, it's fine to start at 4 months. It's fine to start at 5 months or 6 months. It depends on your preference. In my pediatric care, there are some parents who are eager to start baby foods at 4 months. There's some who are less eager, who would rather wait till 6 months, and that's fine. But definitely, your baby must start on some kind of solid baby food by 6 months old, right? Otherwise, they'll start to get some nutritional deficiencies. So at 4 months, what's the best food to start with? The easiest is rice cereal. You've heard that before. There are many organic baby rice cereals out there. Again, there are many brands of baby rice cereal. Use your judgments, use your preferences. I would rather go for the organic ones instead of the non-organic ones, but depending on your preference, the best kind of food to start your baby on is rice cereal or oatmeal. And the best way to feed it is to mix it with your breast milk or with your prepared formula and feed your baby with a spoon. Some women, because of convenience or because it's fast and easy, they pour the rice cereal into the baby's bottle. But there are many disadvantages of doing this. First of all, you tend to add a lot more cereal into the bottle than you would feed with a spoon. The babies get overfed. They start to gain a lot of weight. That leads to its own problems. So rice cereal is a lot of calories, and you don't want your baby to get fat because that could lead to breathing problems and could also lead to obesity later in life. So you want to avoid overfeeding. It could also lead to your baby starting to vomit because your baby's stomach is this small. So if you feed your baby much more than that, the rest is going to come up, and then you're going to get worried, and it's just not good to overfeed your baby. Also, the rice cereal in the bottle tends to constipate babies. Again, because you tend to add a lot more rice cereal into the bottle than you would just feed with a spoon. Because when your baby is 4 months old, 1 tablespoon of the rice cereal mixed with milk to make it really soft and soupy is all they need. But if you're adding it to the bottle, you tend to add more, 3-4 tablespoons, and that leads to constipation. It leads to overfeeding. So be careful. The best way to do it is to mix it in a bowl, just 1 tablespoon, because when you first start your baby on solid food, they don't know the consistency. They have to get used to it. So the first few times, they're going to spit it back out at you. They don't know what the spoon is. They don't know what this thing is that isn't as smooth as milk. So just persist. Don't give up and start adding it to the bottle. You have to train your babies to start to eat what is good for them. So when you first start, once a day is fine. So once a day, rice or oatmeal. Sometimes I advise my new moms to alternate rice and oatmeal because oatmeal is not as constipating as rice cereal. Rice cereal tends to really constipate babies and you don't want that. So once a day, but the main bulk of their nutrition is still breast milk or formula. A newborn still needs about 32 ounces of formula a day. At 4 months, at 5 months, they still need to get at least 32 ounces of formula a day. If they're breastfed, they need to be breastfed on demand. And the way you know they're getting enough breast milk is obviously they're gaining weight, they're happy, they're sleeping well, they're peeing and they're pooping, right? If you're eating well, you will be peeing, you will be pooping, and your baby will be gaining weight. If you're not sure if they're gaining weight, take them to the pediatrician's office and have a proper weight measurement to make sure that your baby is putting on adequate weight. So once you've started the single grain cereals at 4 months, at 5 months, you can introduce the stage 1 foods. And stage 1 foods are veggies or fruits in any order you want. However, I advise my new moms to try to start veggies first because fruits are sweeter. So if you go ahead and feed them fruits and then you're trying to force peas and carrots down them, they may not want it. So after single grain rice cereal once a day for a month, at 5 months you can start your stage 1 veggies. With veggies, again, it depends on your preference. There are a lot of organic baby foods out there now made from natural products, natural ingredients with no additives and all of that. Learn about the company, read what they add to their baby foods, do your research. But if you're not comfortable, you can cook, you can make your own stage 1 foods at home. It's a lot of work because you have to cook the veggies really soft. You have to put it in a food processor to make it really smooth, and you only cook it with water. Don't add salt to your baby food, don't add sugar to it. So if you have the time to do that, that's fine. You can cook sweet potatoes with water, really soft, put it in a food processor until it's really smooth and really, really smooth, no lumps at all. And you can freeze it into small packs and feed it to your baby once a day. It's up to you. So by 5 months, they can start eating like the size of the stage 1 foods. I'm not sure how many ounces that is. It may be 1 ounce, but a really small size. So by 4 months, your baby can be eating twice a day. You can feed rice cereal, 1 tablespoon mixed with formula or breast milk in the morning, and then a stage 1 food later in the day, like lunchtime. But at 5 months, they're still needing about 24 to 32 ounces of formula a day. The main bulk of their nutrition is still formula or breast milk. Then at 6 months, you can then add in fruits, right? You can then start to mash up fruits for them, but it still has to be completely smooth, no lumps, because your babies are not yet sitting upright at 6 months, so they can still choke. So this is the key. If a baby isn't sitting upright yet, by 8 to 9 months, you don't want to feed them lumpy foods because it can get stuck in their throats because they're still not sitting upright and they can choke. So be careful that between 4 to 6 months, all the foods are still smooth, but you can start to increase the quantity to like stage 2 quantity. So at 6 months, your baby can be feeding 3 times a day, rice cereal in the morning, all fed with a spoon. stage 1 or stage 2 veggies for lunch, stage 1 or stage 2 fruits for dinner, but they still have to be getting at least 24 ounces of formula a day, or they still have to be breastfed as the bulk of their nutrition, right? And then at 9 months, let's talk about water before we go to 9 months, because a lot of you ask, can I feed my baby water? Can I feed my baby water? Water is okay as long as you don't give too much. So once a baby starts to eat solid food, from the age of 4 months, you can give about 2 ounces of water a day. At the most, I would say 4 ounces. I wouldn't even give up to 4 ounces. So you can give 2 ounces of water a day. But honestly, before 4 months, your babies do not need water. Why? Because the bulk of breast milk and formula is made up of water. So you don't need to give them additional water. So water is fine, but don't give more than 2, at the most 4 ounces a day once they're about 4 months old. And if you really want to give your newborn water, again, 1 to 2 ounces a day is fine. Water is not poisonous. The only reason we say don't give water is some parents get obsessed with giving their babies too much water. The babies get malnourished because they're giving very little formula or breast milk. They're filling up the baby with water which has no nutrients, and the baby gets malnourished. So your baby can have water, but very little. At 9 months old, a few things happen. Your baby is sitting up. They're able to sit at a high chair. So you can start to give them finger foods that melt easily in the mouth. There's many on the market like veggie puffs. So again, you can look for the organic ones. Cheerios are fine. Cheerios melt really easily in the mouth. I wouldn't give Fruit Loops because they have too much sugar. You can just put a few on the baby's table on the high chair and have them pick it up and eat it themselves. So they can start finger foods at 9 months. And then at 9 months, you can also cut back on their formula all the way down to 16 ounces for the whole day. So 16 ounces for a 24-hour period, and then they eat more, they start eating more food. So at 9 months, a few changes happen. Finger foods, reduce milk intake, reduce breast milk. In fact, at 9 months, you should also cut back on breastfeeding. 9 months is that transition time where babies don't want less breast milk and they don't want to eat more food, but you have to train them to eat more food. So 9 months is when you can start giving them that stage 3 quantity, that big jar. And stage 3 has a few characteristics. It's more lumpy, so that your baby can start to learn how to chew, right? Even if they don't have teeth, it's still good. It's lumpy, but it's soft lumps, right? So stage 3 has some lumps. Some stage 3 foods also have some meats. They have beef, they have chicken. So that's fine to feed your baby. No seafood yet at 9 months though. No seafood. So 9 months, finger foods. 9 months, stage 3 foods. You can start feeding them meats and slightly lumpy foods, but still very soft. No nuts, no marshmallows, no popcorn, none of those foods that can choke babies, right? Be very careful and make sure the baby is always supervised while they're eating, even at 9 months. And at 9 months, they can start to drink more water, 4 ounces, maybe 6 ounces a day if they'd like. But you should cut back on breast milk frequency and cut back on or cut back on formula to 16 ounces a day. At 9 months, you can also start feeding babies egg yolk. Avoid egg whites because egg whites are the ones that cause allergies. So if you hard boil an egg, you can mash it up and feed it to the baby at 9 months. Mash up the yolk, not the egg white. Do not feed your babies egg whites until they're 1 year old. And then at 1, really, a baby can start eating what you're eating. So at the dinner table, you can mash up your food and put it in their mouth. At 1 year old, a few changes happen. They can start to eat what you're eating as long as it's soft and it's not too salty or too spicy or peppery. At 1 year old also, they're trying to feed themselves a lot more. They want to be more independent. You can also then introduce slowly foods that are allergenic and see if they will have a reaction. So if you haven't fed your babies any fish yet, you can start at 1 year old. Actually, you should try to wait for fish and seafood till 1 year old. Give them a little bit and make sure they don't have a reaction to it. If you have strong family history of food allergies or any kind of allergies, you have to be more careful. Please check with your pediatrician before you feed them any high allergy foods at 12 months. And the high allergy foods are cow's milk, soy, wheat, egg white, corn, and nuts, and seafood. So please check with your pediatrician when and if it's okay to start feeding your babies with any of these foods. Again, egg white, cow's milk, soy, wheat, corn, seafood, nuts. Those are the really high allergenic foods, which are okay, like peanut butter. Again, it's controversial. There are all sorts of studies that say you should give peanut butter early. I still tell my patients, wait until 12 months and give a little bit and make sure your child doesn't have a reaction. So be careful about the high allergenic foods. At 12 months also is when you transition from formula to cow's milk, right? Once your baby has had the first birthday, you should stop giving them formula and transition to cow's milk, also not more than 16 ounces a day. Because if your baby is drinking too much milk, they will get constipated, they may get iron deficient, because cow's milk doesn't have any iron. It has a lot of vitamin D, but it doesn't have iron. So now, so this is now the problem. It kind of switches. So you have to be careful with too much cow's milk. It also constipates babies and it can make them anemic if you give too much without giving food. So at 12 months, the bulk of a baby's diet is regular diets, fruits, veggies, starches, beans, all of that, meats. If you're vegetarian, make sure you feed your babies a lot of beans so that they don't get deficient in protein and in iron. So if you're a family with high allergies, make sure you check with your pediatrician before you start feeding them all those high allergy foods I listed for you. So at 12 months is when you can switch the baby to cow's milk. Again, depending on your baby's size, you can choose to do whole fat cow's milk or semi-skim or skim, which is 2% or 1%. Check with your pediatrician which one you should start. I'll say 2% is always a good choice because it's not too fatty and not too lean. Some babies who've had some kind of spitting up or reflux or allergy to milk, they may have to be on some special kind of milk. Again, check with your pediatrician. There are some babies who don't do well with regular formula. They have to be on some special kind of formula if they're spitting up or if they have reflux. So when you're transitioning them also at 12 months, you have to carefully consider which milk you're transitioning them to. But all these milk and spit up and reflux problems, check with your pediatrician. But definitely at 12 months, it's the time to change the milk from baby milk to regular milk. So, but which type you change them to depends on what you and your doctor discuss. But again, at 12 months, your baby must be eating 3 meals a day and 2 snacks in between. Milk at that time is not the bulk of their diet. At 12 months, the bulk of a baby's diet must be real food. A lot of babies who are still drinking gallons of milk at 12 months, they become anemic. So don't let this be your baby. And babies they can be trained. So if your baby is refusing different foods, try different ones. You can't give up. You can't say they're spitting up, they don't like any food, so you're just feeding them milk. That's not an excuse. You have to train your baby to start to eat real food and not just consuming milk. So that's feeding a baby in infancy from 0 to 12 months old. And obviously from 12 months and above, then it's the same thing, right? They need to eat what we're eating and they still need to have some milk or some yogurt, but milk is not the bulk of their diet. But still be careful with foods that can choke until about 3 or 4 years old, because babies even toddlers can still choke. So no nuts, no popcorn, no marshmallows, no hard candy. So yes, so that's it. The mom that asked me for this video, I hope that this was helpful. If you guys want any other videos, let me know if there's any pediatric topics you'd like. I'm going to try to avoid the medical topics like ear infections and sore throats and all of that, but little things like, preventative care or how to take care of your babies or hiccups or colic and all that, I'm glad to discuss those, but I don't want to go into the real medical topics on this platform. So make sure that you still contact your pediatrician with any questions you have. This video does not replace medical care with a board-certified pediatrician. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please share it with any new moms or expectant dads that you know. And I will see you at the next video. I hope this was helpful. Thank you all for watching. I hope you will subscribe to my channel. Take care. Love you all and God bless. Bye-bye.